So I am a little late to the HTMX hype train that happened a while back, and I've always been wanting to try it out just to see how it really is and get my first impressions. And now I'm going to go ahead and do that in this video, hopefully. So I'm going to be using this repo from Tom Does Tech. He's another YouTuber. Go check him out. I'll put the link to both his YouTube channel in the description below and this repo that I'm going to try to run. Also check out Anthony GG. He does a bunch of Goth Stack Go related content. So if you want to learn from someone who's probably a lot smarter than me with Go, go check them out. So I've already cloned this repo down, and I've spent a lot of time trying to get air set up and get Temple set up and get Tailwind set up. You kind of have to install some binaries. But for some reason, every time I run make dev, it just keeps failing. The only way I can get this to work is by adding a hard-coded path to my Go bin file. So I don't know if maybe I just have my path set up incorrectly or something. Because when I run air down here, it works perfectly fine. But when I do make dev, it fails, saying it can't find air. So I don't know how makefiles really work, honestly. I would assume it's going to run on my machine, but there's like some disconnect for like pathing. It can't seem to find where my air stuff is set up. So if you know, leave a comment. I'll probably reach out to Tom Does Tech. But let's just do a make dev, and that is going to run our website. Okay, this template has a login, it has a registration capability, has like an about page, but I'm not going to be diving into authentication or anything like that. I just want to make a really basic to-do app. And the first thing I want to do is understand, how is this project set up? Okay, so the first thing I would probably look at is, I'm assuming there's some type of main Go file. Right here it is. This is probably the entry point of the program, which is going to init a web server. And he has some like user stuff, a user store. I don't know what any of this stuff is. Honestly, I don't want to dive into all this, but this is how you can make routes, it looks like. So he has this R thing, chi.router, and I guess this is how you can handle GET requests to various endpoints. And so let's just simplify this. We're just going to go ahead and on this root page right here, let's understand how this works. So if we go to the root here and refresh, it calls a welcome guest, and that is calling handlers, new home handler. So let's try to figure out where that's coming from. Command click it, and now we have all of these Go functions that basically handle what happens when a user goes to these endpoints. So if you go to the home page, it calls this. I'm guessing it calls this serve HTTP method, which I probably could just command click directly into it. And now let's understand how this works. So typically with a traditional server-side rendering application or framework, you have a handler or a controller that fetches data from the database, and then it passes that all to a template, and then your templating engine is going to render that out. And so in this particular setup, I think he's using something called Temple for doing the templates. And if you kind of read through this code, basically, let's skip over the stuff I don't care about. I think he's getting like some user information from the context. I'm sure he's doing like cookies. I think basically he's using Temple. So he has templates here, which I think as you make templates, there's a Temple command that's running and compiling those into Go files. And he has them all inside of internal/template. So if you go to internal and go to templates here, you'll see there's a bunch of Go files which are generated from these Temple files. So like we have the layout, which is going to wrap all of the pages. I don't have any IntelliSense. Let's see, Temple. Let me go ahead and install this so we can get some syntax highlighting. Here we go. So basically, if you want to change something in the layout, you come in here to this Temple file and you modify it. And I think he's passing in like a sub view, you know, like a slot. And so this is the slot that's getting passed into the layout. And then the layout, which you have to remember, you can't command click into this because this is like a compiled thing. You have to go to the Temple layout here and look at where we were kind of setting this up. So over here we have like this Temple entry point that takes in a component or contents, and then also a title. And then it basically just injects this contents right here into this main container. Okay. Hopefully you're learning something by watching me kind of spin up a new project and dive into the code base. Honestly, I have not looked at this code base before. I'm trying to understand what's going on. And I haven't really used Temple at all. And my Go knowledge is, you know, pretty rudimentary. But I mean, reading through this, it kind of makes sense if you're familiar with server-side rendering frameworks, right? So if you are not logged in, it's doing all this stuff. And if we wanted to modify the guest index, let's just go ahead and click on this. Of course, that takes us to the Go file. That kind of sucks. Let's just open up the Temple file. We could go ahead and say like, what is up, save this, and go back and refresh the page, hopefully. Okay, it's also saying Temple command is not found. So this is something else I'm gonna have to figure out. Yeah, if anyone knows, just let me know. If for some reason it cannot find like my bin files, maybe I just need to export it here. Let me just do this. I'm gonna go ahead and append go env go path bin. Maybe it can find these things if I do this. I don't really know. Okay, well, I mean, I think it got a little bit further. Let's see. Let me try saving this and see if it actually like tries to compile this. Okay, so it is finding stuff. Failed to build. No required module provides GitHub a template runtime. I guess I'm missing something. Let's just go ahead and run this real quick. This is probably gonna be the worst welcome to Goth Stack video you're gonna ever watch, but let's just have some fun trying to understand this. So now it says, what is up? So we got this all set up, I think. If I go ahead and save this file. Now I would say it does take quite a while to render this template. Like, I don't know, it felt kind of slow, right? And if I have to manually refresh it when the page refreshes. So maybe this project template doesn't have some stuff that I would like, such as live reloading. I would like it if the page is live reloaded when I save the template file. And then also, there's quite a delay. When I save this, it does take some time to actually like compile it. But let me not complain too much. I'm sure there's just some configurations we need to do. All right, let's stop wasting time. I think I understand what's going on here. So I want to try to understand HTMX a little bit more and how to hook it into this like HTTP server that we have set up here. Go to the HTMX docs and try to understand this. So they give you an example of like a button. If you click on this button, you can do some stuff. So, you know, let's just not even use the form. Let's just put this button in here. And the idea, if I understand this correctly, is you can invoke an endpoint. So for example, I can say like create to do. And when you click on this thing, it's going to do a post request to this endpoint. It's going to basically wait for the response to come back. And then whatever the response is, it's going to swap out the outer HTML of whatever ID you have here, right? So for example, if I had a div that had an ID of, I don't know, to do, let's just say to-dos, go ahead and close that off. Technically what you can do is I could just say whatever comes back from this endpoint when I call create to do, I want to swap out this entire thing with the code that comes back. Or you could probably do inner HTML, might also work as well. So let's try this. Again, I'm just going in blind right now. I don't know what I'm doing. But the first thing we probably need to do is find that router. So let's go to main.go. And we want to make a new endpoint. So user does a post request to create to do. All right, so now that we have a new post endpoint, I'm not sure what the convention people use. I haven't read up on this at all. But I think what we could probably do is follow an existing approach. So they do basically new post registration handler here. So I don't know, I'll just say like post create to do. Don't know why there's no underscores between this. This is killing me. Like, let's just go ahead and put some underscores. Hopefully this works. And then we're going to go ahead and rename some stuff here. I'll call it create to do handler. And hopefully what we could do is over here, we could say new create to do handler, something like that. And I don't think we need to have this taken param, so I think we could just have it taken nothing, and we'll have that create nothing. Get rid of some of this stuff. Don't need params anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. We don't need the user store. Let's just get rid of all this stuff. Okay, so what are we trying to do again? When we click on this button, we're calling this endpoint. It needs to return like a list of to-dos. So like, I think if we go over here, maybe we can just like make a list of to-dos. Yeah, let's just make a var here. I think this will be like a global in a sense when the web server's running. And when we hit this endpoint with a post, we need to return a to-dos template. So let's make a new template here. We'll just go templates. We'll say make a new one called to-dos.temple. And then inside of this to-dos temple, let's go ahead and like take an example of how this might be done. Okay, let's just delete this. We'll take an array of strings, and let's see if we can kind of like loop over them. All right, let's go to this temple thing. Where are the docs? Let's go to the guide. top right, here it is. How do you render out a list? So list. Okay. That's useless. Okay, let's go over here. Syntax, statement, switch, for loops. Okay, here we go. This is what you need to do. Let's just grab this and we'll paste that in. And we don't even need an li here. So this will be like to-dos. For every to-do we get, we should just be able to render out the text. So at this point, we can go back, and I think for templates, we can say to-dos, and we need to pass it all of our to-dos that we have. In our case, we could probably append a to-do. Don't know how to append. How do you append? Oh, here it is. So we'll append hello to this to-dos, and then we're going to pass that list into this template, which should render out and send that back to our HTMX page. And swap out this to-dos inner HTML with all of the to-dos. So we should keep on appending to-dos every time you click this. I don't know if this is going to work. I would be surprised if this works, but let's go ahead and refresh, click it. And it actually worked. Wow, so that's pretty cool. If you were to inspect the network tab over here, let's just understand what's going on. When you click on this, it makes a post request to create to-dos. You go back and look at the response. It's literally just a bunch of HTML. Okay? But the state basically is just, you store the state in the back, and the backend is going to send over the latest version of whatever state that you want. That's kind of the approach that HTMX wants you to do. I mean, let's see if we can take this a step further. Is there a way we can delete the to-do by an ID? So if we wanted to, for example, when we're rendering out all of our to-dos here, we could put a data, and we could say like ID is equal to, I don't know, we'll just say like, is there an index we could potentially do? Is this supposed to be the index? IDX? Try this. Bro, I don't know what I'm doing. String of I to A. I think you can do this maybe? I don't know if you can do this directly in a template though. I guess you can. It's just go. Okay. So now if we were to go back to our app, no idea what I'm doing. Let's just go ahead and refresh this. I'll click on this. Now let's inspect this. We should have an ID on this thing, data ID of 0. So technically what we could do is on the li itself, we could nest a button in here. Do like a button, and we'll just say like X, and we're going to put the data ID on there. In fact, I don't think we'll even need a data ID, because what we can do is we know that HTMX is going to exist on this. And so we can just do a post to delete to-dos. And when you click on this thing, you need to do that. And again, we need to target the to-dos that should exist on the page. We'll swap it out. Is this how you pass stuff? Let's go to the HTMX docs and let's see if there's a way to pass data. It says if you want to send ID in the request body, add a hidden input field and include HX include. That's absolutely disgusting. But let's try it out. They're saying inside the button itself. Is this actually how you're supposed to do it? Let's do a hidden field here, and we'll say we're going to put that index. Let's get rid of some of the stuff. All right, let's just see if this works. I mean, this feels like the most hackiest thing I've ever seen in my life. Let's just click on this. Okay, you look at these buttons here. They should make a request to delete to-dos when you click on this. Let's click it. It calls delete to-do. What does it send over the wire? It sends over. Now I think it's because I don't have a handler. So I need to go here and say like delete to-do. And we'll say like new delete to-do handler. So let's go here. We'll call this post delete to-do go. Okay. Let's call that. Oh, I need to call new. I don't know why we have new in front of this. Is that something that's like a Go convention? It feels kind of weird. But same idea. You're just going to hit this endpoint, and there's a way we can get back the body. So I'm guessing if we go and look at this post register over here, there's a form value. I don't know if this will have that value on it. I highly doubt it. For the sake of time, I'm actually going to not do this approach because it just doesn't feel like this is the right way. But let me know. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say ID and just like interpolate this right here. But how do you interpolate this? Is that how you do it? No. Bro, okay, why is this so hard to do? Like format, and then I want sprintf, and we want to put the %s there. Is this how you do it? Convert this to a string. Close off the parenthesis. Okay, so now there should be a query string. We could probably give this an ID equals to s. And then we can get that. I don't know how to get the query string over here, so we can say like r dot. I love libraries where you do a search and it doesn't tell you what you're trying to look for. Like, why does it not have examples of query strings in here? I don't want to go and look at a repo to get examples. How do you get the query strings? One of these should have a query in it, hopefully. Am I crazy? Like, URL parameters, does this have a query string in it? URL param. That's not the same. I want a query string. Okay, well, this is a really garbage documentation. So our URL query.get. Let's just try that. All right, so I guess to get the query string of the ID, we're going to have to do r.url.query.get. Then we'll say ID. And then somehow we have to remove from the to-dos, that's a global in this package. We'll say like remove the to-dos by given index. Okay, why is there so much code? I'm gonna let Copilot do all that because I don't know what I'm doing. So basically get the ID, which technically is an index, so I should probably call this the index. And we're gonna go and just, I guess, splice out that index, and then we're gonna render out the to-dos, and then we're gonna send that back. And hopefully, if I got that right, refresh this. Just go quick, create a couple to-dos over here, and then let's delete some. There you go. That's as far as I'm going to take this video. So far, I'm not impressed with any of this stuff. Feels very convoluted and not very intuitive, but I'll give this a solid try again. Maybe it's the project structure of this template that I don't like. Maybe it's the verbosity of something simple in Go compared to Node. Like this would have been like one line in Node versus Go. Like, what is all this? Like stuff like this, like why do I have to write all this code just to interpolate a string when I could just simply just do a interpolation in Node? So there's just little stuff like that that, you know, it just feels gross. Also the fact that in my template, I have no idea if this ID exists in my template. Like I'm kind of going in blind and just guessing with IDs, which makes me, it reminds me of doing vanilla JS development, which I never want to do again. I mean, it's like terrible, which is why I like using Next and TypeScript, because like everything is just type safe. You know exactly what you can find stuff with. Like right here, HX swap. I don't even know what values I can put here. Okay, I'm just kind of guessing. I have to go read the docs, which I don't want to go read the docs for stuff like that. Honestly, that's my initial quick, you know, I spent like 30 minutes trying to play around with this. Do I like it? Right now, not really, but I'm going to keep on trying it. Usually I don't like something when I first try it, but later on, you know, maybe I start finding things that I do like about it. But something like this I could have done in Next.js in probably 5 minutes because A, I'm familiar with it, and B, I just think that it is a little bit easier. One thing I like about Next.js is that we have like server actions and all this stuff is like tied together very easily versus when you go to traditional server-side rendering, you typically have this like controller type of stuff. You have to register things. You have to make all this code just to accept like an endpoint. All your endpoints now need to return HTML, which I don't know. Anyway, don't get mad if I bash this. I'm going to try it again later, but have a good day. Happy coding.